Well, this is going to be fun. Really grateful for having Ramaji and Ananda here, and all of you. You know, I've been speaking a lot about this over on Facebook through our Heart Center Leader Group, and just, you know, sharing my journey and my experience with the RASA transmission and the utilization of the maybe more updated version of the level of consciousness system. And so, and with mixed response, you know, so it's really interesting to see the group that's here, which I'm really excited about, because, you know, it shows that you're ready and willing and open, and that's really all that's necessary on the path. And so, you know, today we're just going to structure it pretty simply. I'm going to just introduce Ananda Devi and Ramaji, and I have a couple, you know, intro questions to start upon, but a lot of you have watched the interview that I did with Ramaji amongst a lot of the posts I've made, so you have a little bit of the basic element, but inwardly you of course know, you know, that's why you're here. So so we'll keep it simple, and we'll just really open for Q&A, so that all of you can have a chance to ask any questions, to clarify anything. And then we'll finish off with the 10-minute RASA at the end. So just a few things here. Everyone's on mute, but if you do have a question, I don't know if there's a raise hand feature. I don't think so. But you could just you could just say so in the comments, and then I'll unmute you guys. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So just to dive in, I mean, most of the work that I did was with Ramaji in particular, but Ananda Devi I had known about obviously through Ramaji, and then going on the website and learning about her more. And I was just re-looking at the website and just feeling into her energy and reading through her bio on the website. And it was interesting because the nature of that embodiment path is really the kind of, you know, love everything tantric view within the New Age is surely becoming a very profound message for most people, as they find I wouldn't say limitations, but at least you know, maybe a resistance to the overbearing masculine approach to most of the awakening paths, and which typically represents the guru at the top and then all of the disciples following for, you know, many lifetimes, if not, you know, at least 50 years in this lifetime. And so so what I found was beautiful is the essence of her energy, and really representing the divine feminine, not just because she's a female, but just the energy she carries. And so maybe, Ananda, I haven't other than in the description of the Zoom call, and I haven't done an interview with you or anything, maybe if you could share a bit about your path. And I think it's the love story is generally best from the woman, maybe. So maybe from your perspective, just, you know, how you guys met and how this all came about, and the dynamic you guys share.
You're a smart guy, Corey.
I'm so, you know, Corey, I just, before I go into that story, and I know I don't want to bore too many people, so I'll be just as brief and keep it exciting as I can. But is it okay if we share this video at some point?
Yeah, sure.
On this, are they okay if their faces are seen?
If anyone's not, then just say so in the comments. But yeah, it will be shared on my end too. So
yeah, we'd probably we might put it on YouTube or put it on our website or something.
Cool.
Okay, so then if you're not okay, just pin yourself. There is a way, right? I think.
Yes. Yeah, you can cover your camera.
Yeah, cover your camera.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Which some people have done, it looks like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Corey, and firstly, it's such an honor to be sitting with new seekers. Ramaji and I were both seekers for too many years to count. My story is an interesting story because I had experiences as a child, but I come from a Jewish background. And I wasn't raised just very conservative and not about any of this stuff. I mean, to this day, my family think I'm off my rocker, to be honest. And so when things started to happen for me, I recognized them, but I didn't have a word to associate with what was going on. So and then as the years passed, and I began to understand more, and then in my 20s, finally got married, moved to the United States from South Africa, and then began to become, what I call a more hardcore seeker, really going through, all the religions first, study of them all, and then all the spiritual concepts and all the different studies. And, you know, for me, Zen always was my favorite, still is, because I'm just very direct. That's my nature. Anyway, having said all that, I had enormous awakening experiences over a very short space of time. And I knew that something was different, but I couldn't integrate my understanding into my reality. In other words, I was walking around as a mother. Now I had 3 children. I had a husband, and I'm a daughter, and I'm in this very conventional, wonderful life. You know, everyone's buying shoes and we're going out for lunches, but yet my mind, my self is not operating from that same lens. The lens had shifted. And then I went on what I call, because I'm just going to cut such a long story short so we really get into how I met Ramaji and the love part. And so what I decided to do at that stage was I wanted to meet somebody who in my I believed was awakened. Now, I had met, you know, I'm in a fortunate position in life that I got to meet a lot of very well-established gurus and speak to them and get to know them. And there was always something for me that I felt was missing. My experience, existential experience, didn't add up to what I was getting from their energy. I just didn't, you know, they were very much about samadhi, very much about love and bliss. And I got that because I'd been through those phases over my life so many times, and the opposite. And so, you know, it was always, the pendulum was always swinging, and yet I just understood what this is all about. And I just needed to find a way to bring it home, to make it real, and not about a state, but about how I wanted to meet somebody who embodied the teaching, but wasn't teaching the teaching. So I went on what I call a guru hunt, and it was very long. It took years. And I used to pray. I used to pray in my bathroom because now I felt I must be the only person who gets it this way. Therefore, there's something wrong with me, because I just wasn't feeling it, you know, and I knew that I needed to meet somebody who did. Lo and behold, I had read all the books. You know, the seeker goes through that phase where they just read book after book after book after book, and they go to every study and every guru, and they just, and I remembered reading Ramaji's books a couple of years back. So I decided, okay, now I'm going to meet him. And I knew he lived in San Diego, so I made my appointment to meet him. And again, I'm direct. I don't really like to meet via Skype. If I'm going to meet somebody, I wanted to go meet him in his home in Alpine. Ramaji was married at the time. And so was I, actually. And I went to Alpine that day. And I walked into his home, and something happened. I knew, and I didn't have to, we shook each other's hands, but I knew I'd met an integrated human being. I knew I'd met someone who, he wasn't going to be my guru, because I don't believe I'd need a guru. I'm awake. I don't need anyone to tell me I'm awake, but what I did need was a friend. I needed somebody else to get the teaching the way I did. And I knew that I was going to work with him. I just knew. And you get into a space where you learn to trust this knowingness. It's in your body. It's not your mind. It doesn't really make much logical sense up here, but you're going through life now spontaneously being, and boom, boom, boom. Now he's more intellectual than me. He thinks more. So I tell him all this on the first meeting, and he thinks she's all for rocker. Okay.
No, I didn't think that.
A little. And our meeting was brief, 15 minutes of talking. We went for a walk. We sat on the bench, and we knew what we knew. One thing led to another, and within a week or 2 weeks, I told my significant other at the time that I was going to leave, and my life changed. Bam, just like that. That knowingness, everything changed, and he did the same. We joined forces, and this is what you get. So you get Ramaji and I, who give the spiritual transmission RASA, which for me, I'm very skeptical. I didn't even know about the RASA when I went to meet him. I had no idea what he was talking about. I thought, why are you giving me this, and what is it? And he gave it to me, and that he didn't tell me much. He already recognized I had to have the experience versus the words. And that helped with my integration. And so, you know, which is why I can actually sit here before all of you and discuss this story, which is a bizarre story, really. And probably many would judge the story as being, who does that? But that's just, again, we're not really here to follow. We're here to be unique. We're not here to be like anybody. We're here to be ourselves. And we're certainly not here to, I'm not here to be anything but a part of the whole. So that's the story, really. A super fun story. It was, yeah. And then we did fall in love. That happened, that we fell deeply in love. And we've been together ever since.
Well, when I met her, when she came that day, we did talk about 15 minutes, but I told her, I said, listen, I know you're awake. And not only that, I know you would be really good teaching this, because she was so articulate in describing her experiences and so on. So that first day, she didn't tell me that she wanted to work with me, but I told her, you'd be a really good teacher. You'd be an excellent teacher if you ever want to do this, And then we took this walk. So we spent actually a couple hours together that first day. And when we took that walk, we sat on this bench, because it's very nice up in Alpine, lots of trees and stuff.
Beautiful.
And like we're sitting at this bench, and it was like something happened, and I went back over what happened, and I realized, okay, I was looking out kind of at the sky, and everything like shape-shifted. It was like we were on a certain track separately. And then when we met that very first day, it was as if time, space reshaped itself. And all of a sudden, we now had joined our tracks, our life tracks. I didn't know that, she didn't know it. And other things that happened that day, I don't want to talk about them, but they were like bizarre. I couldn't make sense out of certain information I was getting. I just couldn't get it. What does this mean? There were things that were unique about her that I had never encountered with anyone else in my whole life, and I just couldn't figure it out. And so things just basically proceeded from there. And so it's just sort of a total package deal.
And yes, just to add in there, when I say I did leave, but I wasn't happy in my first marriage. And, Ramaji, of course, will speak about his own story, just so you don't think I went and
I'm not telling anything.
Yeah, I just don't want you to think that I wasn't kind about it, or, we worked together long before anything else. We worked together. I had this feeling of working with Ramaji, but I also knew that my time had come to be true to me. I don't know it's an amazing event when that happens, where you are going to be yourself regardless. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, we had
it's just something happened.
We basically had an online emotional affair, because we were both married at the time we met. And we really didn't feel it was appropriate, to have affairs with each other. And so it was an emotional affair, basically online. And we got to this place, both of us, where we were actually in a world with each other and not with our spouse. I sat down one time at breakfast with my then wife. I wasn't there. I was with Ananda. I mean, it's the most bizarre experience. I've read about it like in a romantic novel or something. But I mean, she was having exactly the same experience, that she was with me. So it was like our minds and hearts were consumed by each other, to the point that we were literally in another world while we were in the world we were in. We were in another new world together. And, you may be familiar with the twin flame concept. We believe we're twin flames. And one of the things that people don't understand about twin flames is, yes, there can definitely be a major romantic component, but the twin flames come together to serve, to make a major contribution for the benefit of human beings, and make a difference by combining forces, as well as helping each other out, and working through karma and whatnot. But it can be challenging and very rewarding, but it's not just kind of romantic, sugar-coated experience.
By all means,
it's the most, in some ways, the most challenging and most demanding, at the same time, the most rewarding. So.
And yes, as with any decision you make in life, there is always a consequence. There's cause and effect. And, we had to deal with the consequences of our decisions. There were other people involved as well. It wasn't easy. And it hasn't been an easy time. But I think we're finally on the other side now, and and so our goal right now, our mission right now is really to help awaken as many people as possible on the planet.
Yeah, like 1 million people.
I would say 1 billion, billions.
Oh, okay.
I think big. I believe that I believe there's something so significant going on right now on the planet. Consciousness is shifting, and it's shifting fast. And Ramaji and I by no means aren't the only teachers. Corey's another one. There's so many of us and so many teachers. All of you are teachers. All of you. There isn't a person that sits before me. And all I see is this potential, this ability that you have to be yourself, speak your truths, and be unique. And if it's, whether it be on the spiritual path or whatever it is that turns you on, do it. Because, and that's what we do. We try and empower people to be their own guru. We're not gurus. We don't believe in the guru disciple thing.
Yeah, we're not teachers. We're not teaching.
We don't believe that we're teachers.
We're finishers.
We finish you. We finish the search.
All you guys have gone and studied with teachers, studied teachings, etc. So what the RASA does, what the gift of RASA is, it finishes you. You're ready to graduate. You're ready to graduate from school rather than keep going to another class. So that's what we do. We specialize in that. And that's why we've been able to awaken hundreds of people, because that's what we do. But it's not us even. It's this spiritual power that decided to show up in 2011.
Yes. The last thing to ever think about is that there's anything more special about us than anybody else. We are very normal people who make mistakes and fight and argue and have moods and depressions and throw ourselves around. We don't live in samadhi. We occasionally have bliss, and when we do, that's great. And when we don't, that's great too. We're very real. This is real for us. It's nothing that you guys are probably used to with spiritual supposed teachers.
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe not. I don't know. But we finish. A lot of people have called us spiritual assassins. It's like, because everything you thought you understood, I'm afraid to say, we're going to blow that up.
It doesn't matter what you understand.
Yeah. So, it's all about being here now and having a blast doing so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Corey, anything else you want to ask? Go ahead.
Well, and we can open up too. If there's any questions, just say so in the comments. If you want to put your question in the comments, or just say I have a question, and then I'll unmute you. But from my end, what naturally is so beautiful from hearing you, and then for myself going through the process with Ramaji, and it reflecting very deeply in the nature of my own experience, which was in the New Age there is this there's a big move towards the space of embodiment. Embodiment seems the core essence of the trend in the New Age teachings. And it's an interesting aspect because from my perspective, in my writings and just the direct experience with Ramaji, as we've had so many conversations about it, which was the reverence and respect for the more masculine oriented guru disciple relationship, in which in essence will never not be present. It's just not present in the same way as it once was. And also coming from the standpoint of seeing that embodiment is really the same thing. It's just seeing life as your guru and deeply embodying that uniqueness that you're speaking of, which is a tantric, all abiding love for everything that arises. So maybe if you could speak on that a little bit in the nature of the transcending times that we're moving into, which is in essence putting the cart behind the horse, which is realization first and knowing the true nature of self. But as you're speaking of a lot recently, which was the more post 1000, or the embodiment tantric view, which is a whole other conversation, which I think is really interesting. Yeah. Yes.
No, Ramaji and we can both speak on that. It's really what our main teaching is about that. What I always say is a student, when they join us, they have a couple of sessions, and we encourage that. We give them RASA, And then eventually they get to our map of 1,000, and maybe Corey's already explained that that's one thing. So let's say you get to what we call you're awake. You're enlightened. I don't like that word, but you're awake. Now what happens? So you're awake. What does that mean? You were already awake, actually. You just thought you're not. So now you don't think you anymore, and you actually are. How are you embodying your awakened state?
How do you live?
How do you live? It's one thing to still live it in, you know, and what we find and what we see is a lot of students go through a process. The process is not an easy one. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It's as if the shock of it is often, oh gosh, what am I going to do now with my time? I've been a seeker for so many years. I better get some hobbies, you know. It's like,
no more meditation for 6 hours a day. What?
Exactly, you know. Or so I always say, start getting hobbies, you know, start getting, you know, because you have to jump into life. For us, it's the Tantra is not about, it's not only a sex thing, it's a relating thing. You're no longer relating two minds. You're relating, consciousness is relating with consciousness. So we are all right now having a tantric experience. If you're being yourself, you're always having a tantric experience with their essence. Even if our minds don't agree on everything, what does that matter? Because you come to this understanding that you are embodying your own beingness, respect of self, which automatically leads to respecting the one sitting before you or the many sitting before you. And there's a deep love in that because you recognize people as part of yourself. So you're always really dealing with yourself all the time. And that's what I call embodying, when it really hits home, and how you coming across, how authentic am I being, how real. You know, if I'm really having a shitty day, can I say, shit, I'm having a shitty day, or do I have to pretend to be enlightened? You know, that falls away. So the embodiment is really, it's actually so simple. The new agey stuff I get to, you do become a better person. You will naturally act with more respectfully, more lovingly, more kind, you know, more mindful, because who are you harming? If you're harming yourself. So why on earth would you do such a thing? It's bizarre. So, you know, but so first you kind of come into this, aha, oh God, this is it. And then it's like, what do I do with this being it? And then it kind of translates into how you live your life. And that's the exciting part of awakening. It really is. And it's a never-ending process. I believe consciousness is forever expanding.
It's a rebirth, but you start out as a baby. The awakening doesn't come with instructions to tell you how to live. And so what we've found is it's essentially an endless cultivation of love, kindness, compassion, service, etc. Because the big reward you have after you awaken and you don't have that small self bothering you anymore, you're now the big self, is guess what? Now you don't have any problems, but these people around you think they do. And, you know, it's in your ear and you feel it because we're all one. So you may end up, you know, feeling
you're called to serve.
You're called to serve. And
I'll say one more thing about that, which is one of my passions as well, because when you start to, I'm sorry if I'm going on and on, Corey, I get excited. But when you start to understand the way the universe works, the nature of creation is that it's always sharing itself with itself. And we are part of that. We are part of creation. And when you start to then understand that the bliss that many people speak of, or the joy that many people speak of, is if we are creators, because creation is itself with itself, then what will give you the most joy? When you cleave to the attributes of being the creator yourself, which means you start to be somebody who's sharing and caring. And that's when you start to get the feelings of joy and happiness, not from getting necessarily, but from giving. And it falls into place. It just does. And as I say, for each person, it's so unique and individual and beautiful. So, and we are always so excited about everyone's process. I get such a kick out of it. I really do.
The universe is already doing everything.
Doing everything anyway.
But you don't realize that when you're focused on the false self, or the false or small self. It's you actually let the universe do its thing. The universe is doing its thing through you. And then you have all the power of the universe behind you. And then you understand life, you know, the sun, sunlight, the water, the air, the food, all being given to you, and you realize, oh, there's this flow of giving, this sharing that Ananda is talking about. And then your life takes on this quality of just living in this flow, and manifestation, expression, creation, etc. basically becomes celebration, because you're in a river of abundance. You know, and this is very tantric, but you know, the West is tantric. We eat meat, or, you know, we dance, we sing, we like sex, we like entertainment. You know, I mean, you know, Tantra is about saying, okay, I want to have it all. I want to have the fullness, the richness of material fulfillment, but I also want the sublime, you know, transcendental, whatever of the spiritual. I want it all, and I want it now. And you know, that is the tantric possibility. That's the tantric promise. And so that's really what we're saying, thanks to RASA, because it can happen quickly, you know, say within a year or less, maybe even a few months with some people. Guess what? You can. You don't have to quit your job and move to India or go live in an ashram. You can have a family. You know, you can live in a mansion. It's all good. It's all God, and it's all good.
Mm. Oh, that's great. Julie, you have a question, yeah? You're on Michi. Oh, no question. Okay. Well, you're on the spot.
Am I really?
Yeah, you are.
Fantastic. Wow, you just read my mind, I guess. Thank you so much, first of all, Corey, for doing this call, and thank you, both of you, for hosting here. I actually had the privilege to listen to one of your videos, I think it was 2 days ago, one of your January circles, and blown away with your forwardness, directness, love, for ensuring that people wake up. And so what's my question? I feel like I go from being aware. I've had one experience of actually not being me, so awareness a little outside of the physical body. So I've had that experience, and I struggle. It seems to be a struggle. I remember you talking about, you know, cutting the head to be able to sink into the heart. And I get it all. Like the non-duality is not an issue for me, but I guess my challenge is to sink into the heart and the navel, and to stay there. Like I always have to, like, oh, here I am in my head, spend 20 minutes centering and getting there. And like, I just want to be there permanently. So this is where I'm at.
Do you want advice, or do you want that is
anything?
I see you as a loving person who's completely in their heart. That's the energy I'm getting from you right now.
Yeah, me too.
So I don't see a problem. I think the problem is your mind your mind is the problem. It's everyone's problem. Thinks there's a problem. I don't live from my heart all day long. Oh no, I need to use my mind sometimes and have thoughts. So does he. We read books. We do. Sometimes I don't feel love at all. I feel anger. In fact, I can feel all my emotions. Tantra is not about one specific one. It's about allowing. This, to be awake only means you're in an allowing state. You're not resisting what comes up. It doesn't mean you're not restricting. There's a difference between resistance and restriction. Resistance and allowing. Resistance is when you just feel judging. You're judging what you're feeling as not being the right way to feel. I should be getting it this way or that way. Restriction is when you say, okay, I'm so mad right now. I feel like telling that person to F off. But you know what? I don't have to do that. I'd rather not. That's restriction, but where you still are very aware of the feeling. So your feeling, it's all about feeling. And if you feel frustrated, the best way I think I would say to you is feel frustrated. I'm frustrated right now. I'm in my mind. Feel the frustration without the story. and watch how frustration comes and goes, just like everything else.
You see, there's this, religion teaches us you have to be a good person and you have to behave this way and that way, and you're supposed to be in this state or that state. Okay, non-duality, at least the way we teach it, okay, is more advanced. We're assuming that everybody on this call already is a good person, that you already are living in a fairly loving way, and you're basically a kind person, and you're just a good person. Okay, great. If that's true, then guess what? Whatever it is, whatever arises, it's perfectly, totally okay. This is it. And the only thing, like Ananda is saying, it's your mind, that what's happening to you is you're rejecting your own experience. You're judging it. You're condemning it because it's not, doesn't seem like, look like, feel like something you heard about, read about, think you're supposed to be experiencing. Whereas when you move into and embrace and fully accept and even approve of the experience you're having right now, no matter what it is, that experience becomes what you were looking for. When you look for it somewhere else, you will never have it, because the only time and place you can have it is here and now. So you see, you feel like shit. Awesome.
Just say awesome.
Feel like shit. I feel like shit. I mean, that's.
What is it? It's the feeling.
And then there's nothing wrong. The mind thinks there's something wrong. And so then the mind goes on a search. So you want to understand the nature of that very basic action of the mind, which is to, understand, why does the mind not want to stay in the present? You see, it's off on a fantasy. It's hoping to have something else. Mind is filled with hope, you see, but yet it never really works out. Nisargadatta Maharaj, somebody asked him a question, how can I have what I want? Which I think could apply to emotions and thoughts and the body, not just cars or houses or boyfriend, girlfriend, Turns out, but how can I have what I want? And he answered, want what you have. Want what you have. So you could just,
radical
whatever
acceptance.
Arises, want what you have.
Radical acceptance.
And you will have what you want.
Don't run away from it, and try not to judge it. Stay with the feeling. In other words, you're not having the feeling. There's no little I. So if the universe is this feeling right now, and you're the feeling, be the feeling. And then you're not scared anymore of being in every feeling. And then that makes the human condition, which is embodiment, precious. Because it's not about being one thing. We get to experience a variety of different experiences.
Universe loves
That's
variety.
Tantra. Tantra is not about only sex or only this. It's about the desire to be whatever it is you are at that moment in time. You're not escaping anything. You accept it. And even if it's crap, so what? Sorry.
The universe loves variety, and the nature of this dimension is dualistic, which means you have sun and moon and hot and cold and light and dark and pain and pleasure. That's what it's this constant movement, this dance. And one way to look at it is you'll have positive. Every experience is either positive, negative or neutral.
Yeah.
Everything. And it's cycling through all the time. Are you doing the cycling? Are you doing this? No, you're not. It's the universe is doing it. Obviously, the universe doesn't have a problem with you feeling shitty or a problem with you feeling blissful. Universe loves it all. See, that's the thing. The universe loves itself, and it loves what it's doing.
It's like you are that power.
So when you join with the universe,
so you join up with it
thanks,
without
universe.
judging it, and then it starts to work for you.
Thank you.
Because you're not trying to change it. It's when you try and resist it that's the problem. So it's called being in alignment. Is the best way.
Yeah, and that's why gratitude, practice, appreciation. People do gratitude work, and great things can happen from that. And the reason is, even if you haven't had, non-dual awakening, that moves you into alignment with the universe, and the universe is manifesting every single second. Right now, the whole universe, universe is moving my hand right now. That's the whole universe there. So when you understand that, you go, oh my God, you know, accept the gift. Accept it. Accept every moment is a gift. Now, like we said, it doesn't mean we feel awesome every second or blissful or any such thing. But what we've learned is to dance with the partner that we're with. Okay, do a really good dance with that partner. What, you know, in order to that emotion, that mood, that thought state, that body state, that whatever. And if you do that, the more you do that, the more you will see for yourself. And as we say, move into it. Go towards it, move into it, embrace it, approve it, be very curious about it, become intimate with it. The more you do that, the more it opens up, and the more you realize you live in a friendly universe. That these experiences, even if they look scary, they're actually friends. You know.
And as far as dropping into
Buddha
your heart,
in drag.
You are your heart, so you don't have to worry too much about that. We're all in and out of times of feeling in the heart and not feeling in the heart. Just don't judge it. It's perfect just the way it is.
Interesting.
Yeah. And just so you know, presence itself, what we really are, is intelligence itself. It knows what it's doing. It's really here to share and love us. It is us. So we don't have to resist. You learn to trust. When you trust that you are, it really starts to work. Everything falls into place, even when it doesn't, you know.
Yeah, so rather than trying to be loving, I mean, just put different ways. Another expression is loving what is, or loving everything that arises. But, you know, loving, how do I love it if it's like, you know,
a crappy thing, yeah.
Well, but you know what you can do, and I at least I find this distinction very useful. You don't have to love it, but approve of it. See, acceptance is like is good, but approval is even better. So, like for example, let's say I'm an alcoholic. I drink too much. Now, actually, I'm not, but let's say I was. Now, I could resist that and fight that, and that'll be forever. If I approve of it, you know, I totally approve of it, and then self-acceptance sets in, and self-love starts to show up. And I don't have as much shame, and I don't have as much self-condemnation, and I don't have as much self-loathing. You see where I'm going with this? So you see, it's not so much the drinking. What's causing the drinking? What's causing the drinking in that case is I can't stand myself. I hate myself. I'm ashamed. You see, that's what's driving the drinking. So when I start approving, I break that cycle of self-condemnation.
It's funny. It really doesn't make any logical sense, does it?
It's counterintuitive.
It is. It doesn't. It just doesn't. But yet,
I fully approve of my drinking. Really?
But there's a really good. I love that word, approval. It shifts the perspective.
Powerful. Try it. Try approving, and you'll be amazed. You'll see what happens. Your mind will go, "You can't possibly approve of being late for your appointment. How could you possibly do that?" And you're going, "No, I fully approve of being late on my appointment." And see what happens. All of a sudden it goes, peace, peace. Because the real conflict was with what is. And when you approve of what is, whatever it is, silence, stillness, peace.
And that means sometimes approving, feeling angry, feeling sad if something sad happens. Approval doesn't just mean little things. It means anything that happens now. It's just approving it. You don't have, if you feel unhappy, you're still going to feel the feelings of being unhappy. And they suck. No one likes to be unhappy or get sick or when bad things happen. You know, it sucks. When you get angry, someone hurts you, but you can approve the feeling. You can allow yourself to be it. You can allow yourself to feel it. It's when we stop allowing ourselves to be whatever it is that's coming up. We are human. We are having a human experience. You know, embodiment means embodying what we are, not what we're trying to become. And it's such a paradox because the more you embody yourself the way you are, the more what you want to become starts to happen. It just does. You're not doing it. So it's a transformation.
Yeah, approval doesn't mean indulgence.
No.
See, approval means in this moment, I approve fully of this specific event. But if it's inappropriate to, like, you know, scream at somebody because you're angry with them, like Ananda said, then restriction's okay. approve the restriction. You see, we're not talking about self-indulgence. We're talking about no longer condemning what has arisen in you or judging it. You see, we're talking about approving of it because that releases you from it. When you judge or condemn, you actually hold on to it. When you approve of it, that's when you actually release. It will release from you when you approve of it. So you see, as one
Do
person...
we make sense? Are we making any sense?
Well, we're making sense to each other, I think. Yeah.
I'm following you.
I wonder if I make any sense.
Whatever
I don't
you
even know what
resist
comes out
will
of my mouth.
persist. Whatever you resist will persist. So the non-resistance, that's what we're talking about. The non-resistance to the flow of life. See? Everybody wants to be in the flow. They want to be in the zone. Well, that means that's what we're talking about. This is how you do it. Mm. Okay, yeah, I think maybe...
Thanks, Stu.
Maybe Corey wants to say something. Yeah, thanks, Stu. Good question, great question.
I love the way Corey speaks.
Oh, he's a
a
very
wonderful speaker.
Eloquent, smart guy. Very charming.
I'm feeling the heart on the right now. Thank you. That's great. It was funny, actually.
That's everywhere.
Yes, exactly. Well, you know, it's the loving everything teaching. I think is, you know, it's been so beautiful to see the simplicity of. I look at it in a trifold way. I look at it as a sense of receiving transmission, loving everything that arises as a mirror to simply being aware of awareness as the singular technique in which all non-dual teachers point to in different wording and different language, you know, and that's really why I feel Advaita is so beautifully integrated with Tantra, because it has it creates the relatability in essence of, you know, if somebody is looking to practice just being aware of awareness and really through self-inquiry, you know, as they're driving a car or as they're, you know, initially that's quite difficult. So the surrender into loving everything, which I heard a teacher, Michael Langford, actually phrase it through just emotionally resolving or finding or releasing from any emotional resistance to anything as a means to, because a lot of people, like you're saying, Ramaji, the term love everything just doesn't make sense for, you know, the majority of things that are causing the whole reason why you're asking, what should I do, you know? And it's like, well, just love it, you know, but it's like, and so the essence of emotionally resolving or finding the surrender to any resistance inwardly, one practice that was supporting me on my path, which was, and the funny thing is, you know, like I told you, Ramaji, when I first met Guru Nath, my first Kriya Guru, the first thing he said on the first satsang I was with, and he said, when you find the master, that's basically 99% of your journey. And of course he was pointing to, because he also, you know, brought forth the other message, which was his Shaktipat was the only thing he really cared about, which was his form of transmission. And I didn't get it at the time, but naturally as it evolved, it was very, very clear. Once you found the true essence of the transmission, then the journey is really over from there. Now it's how are you really embodying, surrendering, deepening to everything you were always supposed to, but now you almost have an excuse to do that because there's an over-abiding faith in something greater. And in this case, maybe it's rasa, maybe it's the presence of you, as maybe, who knows, but the nature of that emotional resolution, I find generally, it is that devotional path where you have an over-abiding faith in the greater picture, knowing that everything has its place and it's exactly the way it should be. It never could be anything else. And then that's the practice, kind of like fake it before you make it. And then when realization occurs, then that's actually what it is. You're like, oh yes, well, this is what I've been practicing for so long, and now this is exactly what it is, you know. And because at least when the rasa process was over for myself, nothing really changed day to day. Everything was the same, but there was very clearly no longer like a fishnet to catch anything any longer. You know, there was nothing grabbing hold of anything. So it was just a constant creation and destruction in every moment. It was like that video you sent me with Stefan Jourdain, Ramaji, with for everyone to have context. I'll send the video. It's basically this French dude. He's from Paris. He smokes like 100 cigarettes a day, like just, you know, and he's very, he had just a spontaneous awakening. He had no real, and it's beautiful because for those who don't have any background in lineage or any specific practices, it's a beautiful interview, the only one he has in English, because he uses very basic language, and the core of his message was really everything that's created is destroyed almost instantly. So everything that comes out of my mouth should be destroyed because that's the nature of no mind, where you're in that stateless state that's unchanging. So even though you go through an entire day of all these changing experiences, it truly does feel like nothing actually has happened. And not because you're willing to, and that in essence is the stabilization within the statement, I am that I am, or being aware of awareness, without any more fluctuation. So you practice it long enough until it stabilizes, which is just expedited through, RASA, transmission, and these things. So
well, then you can dive in. See, once you're awakened, now you can dive into life.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about your awareness anymore.
It's the opposite of climb up to the top of a mountain and live in a cave, wearing a diaper. I mean, it's the opposite of that.
Are you aware? Ask yourself, are you aware? Yes. Who's aware that you're aware?
Everything is better after awakening. Everything's more beautiful. Everything smells better, tastes better. It's all better. Why wouldn't you want to go out and enjoy it? You see, but it was only the career monks and nuns, you see, or yogis, you see, it was thought, well, you have to dedicate your life to it. And so the people that want to have enjoy life, we're going, well, I can't do that, but now we can. And our point is awakening is about living. Now you can really live. Now you can really let go. Now you live in a total let go state. You're spontaneous like a child. I mean, it is the way to live. It's not just about being some static state, but it enables you to surf those waves of constant change that you're talking about and be in the foundation and be the road that you're driving at the same time. You're, the waves, and yet you're the road as well. You're both. You're the space, like the sky, and you're the arising, the clouds. And yet you enjoy the space of the sky, the sense of freedom, not being defined and confined and oppressed by the arising. At the same time, the arising is the richness, that variety that is part of being a human being. We're super sensitive as human beings. And that's the beautiful thing. We're capable of so many experiences. Why would
you not want to have them?
Yeah. Why would the ultimate realization of life, quote unquote enlightenment, be to stop having these experiences?
Doesn't make any sense. I've always I laugh about it every day. I always say that when people say to me, well, how does it feel? What is the mark of your awakens? I say, I don't know. There's no way of describing it. It's indescribable. It's the stateless state. How do I know when someone's fully awakened? When they've got nothing more to say about it. They've dropped it. They've moved into living their lives. There's nothing to say.
Like us, we have nothing to say.
Yeah, I mean, only because we're teaching. So we're speaking because we're trying to get our point across. Because we are living in the modern world. Those olden days where there were teachers sitting in front of thousands of people, speaking in riddles, and all the riddles we're doing, we're taking the people back into their mind, trying to figure out what are they saying, what are they saying, what are they saying. It takes you away from you, not toward you.
You're already here.
So that's why we do a spiritual silent transmission. Why? Because there's nothing to say.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to find out if anybody else has a question, because time keeps moving forward. So if anybody has a question, we'd love to hear from somebody new, if possible.
I have a quick question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry that you can't see me, but there's a sticker on the camera, so that's the reason of that. But hi, my name's Shane. Ramaji, I had a question, and maybe Ananda for yourself too. How did you come to decide what your names are? Ramaji, is that your birth name, or?
No, it's not my birth name. A student gave it to me.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very curious as to that process and how that came about.
Well, to me, it's I had decided to become a public spiritual teacher in 2011. Mm-hmm. And I had been a teacher for years prior to that, but privately, not public. And so I guess at the time I felt my family was not comfortable with what I was doing. And I also kind of equated the whole thing of going public to becoming like a Hollywood celebrity or something and movie star. And being in the entertainment business. So I decided I wanted to have a stage name, like Marilyn Monroe, she's, what's her name? Laura Jean.
She loves the movies,
Yeah. So I decided I wanted, a name, and this student offered a name, and I thought, oh, cool. So that's my story, and it just stuck. And when I use my legal name, I have trouble recognizing myself. But you see, the thing that happens when you awaken is you don't feel that person, and that name really refers to anybody anymore. You're kind of, we sometimes say now you're the big self. And I mean, I literally can remember what it was like to be that person, how he would think and what he would feel and all of that. But it's literally as if it happened to another person. Actually, it's literally like it happened to a character in a movie or in a novel, because he was never real. So in a certain way, to change my name to Ramaji is a way of saying, I have been reborn. And for me, the word Ramaji is, Ra is the masculine, Ma is the feminine, sun and moon, and Ji is the energy of them being expressed in their ecstatic fusion. So Ramaji to me is a fun, meaningful name.
And as far as Ananda's concerned, well, I didn't really want to teach like this, and they had to, he was pushing me and piercing me and pushing me, and what am I going to teach? I didn't know what exactly I was going to teach. Anyway, and then they thought, okay, well, then we'll give you another name because of my family. And I've always been a bliss junkie. I've always loved to go into a bliss state. I still love my states, whatever they are, and I go there easily. So I decided Ananda means bliss. That he told me to use Ananda Devi, bliss, because it means bliss. And that's what, if you're thinking of a name for yourself, William, if that, I would say go into the Sanskrit words that are, there's so many beautiful words, and something that resonates with you, that you really feel like, oh, that just sounds like a cool spiritual name, and then pick it for yourself, if that's why you're asking the question.
I think it was Shane. Was it Shane?
Yeah, it was Shane.
Shane.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, sorry. Did you have something to say, Ramaji?
No, that's it. No.
Okay, well, yeah, thank you. That was pretty interesting. I love the name now that you kind of described what it means, and as well as Ananda. I was just really curious, not necessarily looking to change my name as of yet, but
well, the other thing is Rama is a householder.
Okay.
And Ram Ram, R-A-M, is very significant to me in a lot of ways.
Okay.
It's in my birth name. It's in my guru's name. And Rama represents householder or tantric action. Rama was a warrior. I'm a warrior. And he's, I was married. And, all of that. He wasn't an ascetic. He wasn't a monk. He wasn't a yogi. He was an action guy, a warrior. So I relate to that as well. So Rama G, and G means G, like juice, like energy. And Rasa, by the way, means essence or joy of life, joie de vivre. Why are we here? What do we really want? We want that essence. And that's what Rasa is. Essence.
Here to enjoy ourselves, guys. There's only one reason.
Life is enjoying the hell out of
having
itself.
Fun.
Life is enjoying itself. See, that's the thing. All this variety, all this crazy, mad variety, the positive, the negative, and the neutral, that's what life is doing. This whole imaginary structure of I can maintain some kind of permanent spiritual high. Yeah, probably if you're up in the Himalayas and you meditate all day long, you can maintain it most of the time.
Oh, boring.
But you see, is that living? No. I mean, you could go to a heroin addict and say, dude, you high most of the time. He goes, yeah, it's so great. Well, do you want to be a heroin addict? Do you want to be a spiritual addict? We're talking about living. Mm-hmm. Living and living, and then you find that living is giving and sharing is caring. I mean, we're talking about being spiritual adults.
There's a wonderful quote that says, life is not a problem to be solved. It is an experience, a reality to be lived and experienced.
Exactly.
And the mind thinks there's a problem, something else. more. It's not enough. I got to become. But being is the point, and you're always being. You can't not be. You might as well enjoy your being. It's really a simple study. Simplest in the world.
So, anybody else have a question?
Yeah, if there's any more questions, let's open up. If you want to say something, just say something in the chat. I'll try and see if anyone's waving their hand.
I'd love to hear from Gary Miller. I'm curious about him.
Oh yes, okay.
Catches my eye, so I want to right here. This guy.
Hi, Gary.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to unmute my computer here.
We can hear you.
I'm a little bit technologically challenged, but I actually have a question. So I'm grateful that you opened it up here. First of all, just so grateful to be part of the session today, guys, for everyone who's part of this. Yeah, it's just, I feel really blessed. And my question is about loving everything. And, you know, one of the things that has really helped me with forgiveness was, you know, something about in Christianity, which was Jesus, you know, when he's on the cross and they're crucifying him, and he says, you know, forgive them for they know not what they're doing. And you know, before I was heavily into Christianity before, and that really always stood up and really helped a lot. And now I've deviated a little bit away from Christianity. I still love some of the magic and the teachings of Jesus, you know, but anyway, without getting into it, I'm much more accepting of, you know, all the different paths, which I believe kind of lead to the same thing, which is just love everything, love your neighbor, spread peace and love. So anyway, my question is about loving everything. And in my own life, especially with people, I found we just can't judge anybody because we don't know the whole story. You know, our perception is just a fragment of totality. We don't know the history of people. We don't, you know, we can't judge a homeless people. I remember before I was more awake, I would see a homeless person and think, you know, why don't you just get a job? Mm-hmm. And now I realize, like, this poor guy, I don't know what his story is, you know, how can I ever judge this guy? And so anyway, with people, loving everything, not judging anyone, knowing I don't know their story, it's been very helpful. But my question now becomes about loving everything when it comes to things like, you know, how, you know, we pollute the earth, and, you know, there's all these planes that are causing pollution, and we are, you know, having a negative impact on the environment and on the earth. And this question arises because I have a friend who is in crisis right now, and I have a bit of a pattern where I like to rescue people and I want to help people. And I have a friend who's really struggling, and I guess I think she's projecting all the hurt inside of her. And she keeps saying to me, you know, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be here on this earth. And I was at her house the one night talking to her, and she said, come over and look at all these airplanes right now that are traveling. We went on the internet, and she showed me this map of all the airplanes in the world. And she starts crying, saying, this is causing so much destruction. And then I tried to explain non-duality to her. I said, yeah, but, you know, what we love will also hurt us. And these planes that are causing destruction, there could be a person that needs a heart transplant. They could be, you know, taking them from North America to Europe to get treatment, or it could be reuniting families together. So it's not as simple as, you know, it's all bad. So I don't know what type of advice to give to her. How do you answer a question to somebody who says, how can you love everything when there's, you know, all this damage and destruction?
Well, you got a real doozy of a question there. I'll take a stab at it. I mean, I know how I would answer it. I don't know if it'll help your friend, but it's basically two ways I would answer that. The first one would be, the non-dual view is in fact, which you maybe kind of combined with the tantric view, since we're using that word today, everything is God. Everything is the self, everything is Buddha nature, whatever you want to call it, everything. So smog, pollution, they're God too. Okay, otherwise you're stuck in duality, which means God and devil. So, if you want to play that game, God versus devil, God versus whatever the opponent is, go ahead. But it's an endless battle that never, it never gets resolved. The other way is, I'll say, would you like to know what God's will is? Well, how do you know God's will? How can you possibly know what God's will is? I said, well, it's very easy to know what God's will is. Okay, how can I know? Whatever happened. Whatever happened is God's will. Whatever happens is God's will. Done, over. The mind wants to thrive. The mind thrives on division. And when you give it a wholeness, the mind stops, and it doesn't like that. So if everything's God, no room for the mind. If everything's God's will, no room for the mind. So anyway, that's how I would reply.
Yeah. I could add a little to she's focusing on negative issues, and therefore she will attract more and more negative issues toward her. The presence itself is very powerful. The presence that we are, the awareness that we are, is intelligence itself. And as long as you're separated from that intelligence, or think you are, because you're not really, but you think you are, you're fighting it, and what intelligence does, this awareness that you are has an ability to focus. If you don't actually believe you're that, and you actually aren't acting in concert with the divinity that you are, which means that you're going to be thinking that things are wrong all the time, you're going to be creating wrongness. It's funny. People think there's so many problems in the world. But why? Or why did Donald Trump become the president? Well, why did so many people focus on him for so long? It doesn't matter what your focus is on. In other words, it doesn't matter even if you're focusing on him saying, we don't want it, we don't want it, we don't want it. It's still the focus on what you don't want, which means the universe doesn't know whether it's good or bad, or, it's just, that's the focus. The power that you are is your power to focus.
You're pointing your flashlight at Trump. You might be saying, oh, I can't stand him. But the universe says, oh, that's your spotlight. Okay. And your friend, she focuses on the negative and she's having a negative experience. So instead of trying to respond to the environmental issue, instead say, listen, there's a deeper issue for you. Look at the power of your own focusing. Look at the magic and creativity of your power to focus. Look your negative focus is producing a negative experience. Why don't you experiment?
And try with a positive one.
A positive experience, a positive focus, see what happens. I love what Ananda said, because that is really what that woman is doing. She's focusing on the negative and creating a negative experience for herself. It's that simple.
I have a lot of compassion. If something happens in a person's life and there is a reason for their unhappiness, I get that. Things happen all the time. But when a mind is creating stuff because it has a view, and we don't really know if it's a correct view or an incorrect view, and it's just judging based on what it believes to be true, and actually we are the ones, your focus, you give it meaning. We give it meaning. This intelligence that we are is giving it meaning. In other words, when you realize that you are that, what is God's will? What is your will? Because you're a God. And that was Jesus's message. Me and my Father are one. He didn't mean it just because of him. He meant it for everybody. Same with the Jewish message. Always the same message. You have to have certainty in your own power. And if you want to use it negatively, oh, well. Do that then. It's not, nothing, it is what it is. But to empower your friend in the best way is to make her very aware of the power she has. Everyone has power to focus the right way, to focus on the good. Because, man, you're missing if you're not. You've just got to go stand outside and look at the flowers, feel the sun under your skin. to know this universe is working just fine. Okay.
Great.
Any other questions there? Thank you, Gary.
No, thank you very much. That was beautiful. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll leave it open for one more question if there's anything, and then we'll take maybe just like a couple-minute break if anyone needs to go to the washroom, and then we'll finish with the
RASA. Corey, thank you so much. So lovely and honored to meet all of you. We hope this was fun for you.
Yeah, we want it to be
They're going to have one more question for us.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Well, it seems like we're good then. Maybe we'll do just a 2-minute break if anyone needs to go to the washroom or anything, and then we'll finish with RASA. So yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Wow, we spoke a lot about our story.
We did?
Didn't we? Did we? Yes, we did.
I guess we did.
It was great. That's the next book.
Oh, actually, it is.
Okay, there we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Actually, it'd be a perfect revision in 1,000, post 1,000.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The fun begins post 1,000.
You know, it's funny. I had a student. He's so fabulous. And he had been a seeker for 60 years, and he finally got it. And so he didn't know what to do with himself. He decided to become a golfer. He hadn't played golf in many, many, many years. In his 70s, so he went off and he bought his clubs and the balls, and he went off to play golf. Okay, and he had his buddies, and bought the clothes, and he booked him, got himself a membership at the club. And so for the first couple of months, he just said, Ananda, I'm walking and I'm hitting the balls, and they are going into the water, fresh airs. And I keep on looking up, and this is the natural state. This is the natural state. And then he said, I'd go home and I'd barbecue for my wife. And, and then they like to barbecue naked, and, they're very alternative, and they were having, he goes, this is the natural state. And then he went into this pain, he got really, really bad. And for a couple of weeks, he, neck issues, was in bed, and he said, this is the natural state. And I just love telling that story, because he gets it. He just gets it.
He gets it.
And this natural state is the state you are in now. That's it. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, the state you're in now, with no resistance to that.
With no resistance to that state,
Yeah, you can't even make these things last if you want to, If you're not sure of that, go ahead and try. Anytime you have a thought, emotion, body sensation, sense perception, try to make it last. Try to prolong that state. You can't do it. It wants to leave. It's going to go. Okay, is everybody back?
I think Gary's just getting back, but maybe if you guys want to just briefly touch on RASA, any preliminary things, but and then we can just jump in.
Yeah, you do
it. Do they know anything about RASA, Corey?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has watched the interview and heard my posts and stuff about it, so I feel maybe just a recap, refresher.
Oh boy, quick one,
Corey. Quick one,
okay.
Basic, quick.
Say quickly.
All right, I'll do it.
Quick,
okay.
Quick.
So basically what we're going to do, it's not a problem to have a group. It works fine. So we're going to open your crown chakra and ask for this divine light to come down, and it essentially illuminates your brain, and also connects your mind and your heart. And the light that comes down is at LOC 1000. We consider it to be an expression of Divine Mother. So it's love, basically. It's very gentle. Many people experience it like rain. Just be receptive, be open to it. You did all the hard work that got you here. Now you just take your empty cup, which is the product of all your seeking. You've earned this cup now. And then this cup becomes your vehicle for receiving. So just receive.
It's all about receiving. I deserve it.
Relax and receive.
Pretend you're lying on your favorite beach, and the sun's rays or the rasa coming down through your crown, and you're just lying there and yes, I want this. Okay.
Give it to me. I'm
exactly.
ready. I deserve
Nothing to
this.
do. You don't have to meditate. You just have to hang out, relax for 15 minutes. That's it.
Yeah, it's like a spiritual supplement, you know.
Yeah, like a vitamin.
Keep getting the spiritual vitamin. And go ahead and live your life the way you want.
And if you have an experience, fantastic. If you don't, fantastic. You know, we don't really, it doesn't bother us whether you do or don't. Really not about an experience.
But
okay.
it's an automatic transformation,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So that's the idea. It does the hard work, the heavy lifting for you. Okay, so
Corey, is it okay if we mute ourselves?
Yes.
And I wonder
well, you know, I mean, how about we do it for 15 minutes? Is that cool?
That'd be great. Yeah, sure.
15 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And we're going to mute ourselves and listen to some special music, devotional music while we. Okay, so 15 minutes in silence, eyes closed, and we're going to start the group RASA now. Now, if anybody, well, wait a minute, no, well, they want to. Yeah, but maybe they.
Well, actually, the recording is only on you or me, pretty much. So if everyone can put their camera on, so you guys can see, then no one's face is gonna be shown. But just so you guys can see, I was gonna ask that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd prefer to be able to see people for giving them the RASA.
Yeah, it helps us actually.
So
it's not the end of the world, but it would be great.
Just got their name up there,
and you won't be on the recording.
Yeah, that's
there
what Corey is saying. You won't be on the recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be furious if they put a recording of me up and I didn't want it.
Yeah, of course. That's what we agree. We don't want to record you if you don't want to be recorded. Well, Shane, it is okay, except if we can't see you, then we have that. It's okay to lie down, but we'd like to be able to at least see your head. You know.
Oh yeah, his camera is. He has that sticker on it. So.
Oh well, in that case, go ahead and lie down.
How essential is it? Like, I can take the sticker off. It's just that the adhesive is gonna like leave a mark.
I can kind of see the roundness of his head. I think that's okay.
It's okay. It's all right.
It's okay.
It's good.
Are you positive? Because I can do it.
Yeah, we're positive.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
My laptop's about to die. Dang.
Sorry, what?
Oh, Liam's laptop's gonna die. Okay, well, let's jump in and let's jump in. You can get on if you can get in on your phone. If your phone is available, then that would work. But if not, then yeah, we'll jump into RASA and you'll get part of it at least.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I hope that I'm supposed to experience it all.
Okay, here we go with the RASA. 15 minutes in silence, eyes closed, and we're going to mute ourselves.
Okay, everybody, that was the RASA today.
If you have a chance, go ahead and sit or lie down quietly for a little bit.
Yes, thank you guys.
Thank you, Corey. Thanks so much for having us.
This is great. Well,
It's really wonderful to meet every one of you. We love you.
We'll let you guys be off with your day, and thank you. We'll connect as well. If I can stay on if anyone has any questions or clarifications with anything. But yeah, I did, in my experience, just lying down after or just having some quiet time is a great way to integrate. So yeah, much love, Ramaji and Ananda. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Great questions.
Have
Great
fun.
meeting all of you. We love all of you. Take care. You're here because you're here. We're here.